Rick Coca, take two. I was waiting outside the house for almost an hour. My novia was working in this house, Engel family, watching their children. They were supposed to get back by 11:30. It was past midnight. We didn't think they'd want me in their house, so I waited in the car on the street in front. I drove a small and dented Toyota. The neighborhood was rich. Big houses, not too much happening at night. Dead and dark. Sometimes you see coyotes looking for food, or an opossum crawling across the road. They are very slow animals. No wonder so many of them die. You see their guts splattering all over the road. They are not pretending then. Animals fascinate me. Where I grew up, you lived with the animals. You understood their habits. You paid attention to what they needed, or they would die. If they die, you die. I watched them being born. I got used to blood and birth. I understood the great variety of shit in the animal kingdom. My mother taught me to kill chickens with my hands. You grab them around the neck, and then you spin them around. They struggle, and some of them can really cut you bad if you're not careful. When I was a child, I loved to kill them like that. Later, I butchered pigs. I pretended the pig was a condemned man, a murderer, rapist with no soul who never repented and spit at the priest giving him last rites, and mocked the sacraments in the family of the victim. Boasted he raped little girls. I held the knife tight, looked at the struggling, confused pig, imagined the rapist or the unrepentant murderer, and I was chosen by the court to execute this scum. I never smiled. I never let the pig's, I mean, the prisoner's screams distract me. I plunged the knife into its soft throat far as it could go, and I cut and cut, and the animal screamed. Like a man, I imagined the bleeding prisoner, finally understanding the meaning of his crimes, repenting, fearing God, believing in God's wisdom, God's punishment, which I carried out. I was the messenger of God. The word of God, I said, don't kill, don't rape, don't sin. I was the terrible messenger, and this knife was my message. I took myself very seriously when I was 10 years old. I feared nothing except goats. I wouldn't kill goats. I wouldn't come near them. They have haunted eyes. God protect me. They seem like the reincarnated souls of madmen. When they cry out, it sounds like your name. I would practically shit myself in fear. I begged my father to get rid of the goats. One day, I cried in front of my father, and he was so offended. He hit me over the head with the handle of a machete and told me to stop acting like a girl. He locked me in the goat's pen for a day to punish me, and those madmen brayed and shouted at me, told me their stories, their past lives. It was hard to make out their words, but I understood enough. One had set his hair on fire. One had eaten rats. One believed he was Pope John the 23rd. One had sat in a room 12 years, sitting in his own shit, dreaming of space travel. I screamed at them to stop talking to me, worried my father let me out at dinner time. He was going to make me spend the night there, but changed his mind. After a night with those madmen would drive me so insane, everyone would pity him for having an insane child in his family. And my father hated people's pity more than he hated having a sissy son. I wiped my eyes and walked out the pen. I never cried in front of him again. To this day, animals fail to move me. With their dying, their breeding, so what? The coyotes hurrying through these big shot Anglo neighborhoods at night, ignoring me and my Toyota as I wait for my girlfriend. So what? I waited out there nearly an hour. I was low in my seat thinking of my youth in Nicaragua among animals. It was dark and quiet. I was about to fall asleep. Far away, I heard a car. It wasn't going fast. I thought, no. I didn't move. I could feel the sweat in my hands, my asshole tightening. The car had very bright headlights, and it stopped right behind me. Engine running, light shining into my car. I thought, no. I waited and decided to sit up. The police light shot on, red and blue swirls colliding in my face, my stomach turning into boiling water, my mouth dry. Two men got out. One of them shined a flashlight in my face. I waited. The other cop stood behind the first and he waited. Man's eyes were cold. Man's eyes stared right into me. I turned my head and wouldn't look into his eyes as the other one told me to get out of the car. Very, very slow. Hand on his gun, the night very still. Coyotes long gone, scared away by the action. Instinctual, I stood there and explained what my business was on this street, and one of the cops looked at me the way I used to look at the pigs I was about to slaughter. Cold, convinced of my higher duty, the spokesman of God, the messenger, the punisher, the death bringer. Q scene.